Yes, students. Now we will revise chapter 4, which talks about the overheads. There are two chapters which talks about the overheads. The first chapter is 4. The next one is activity-based costing. Whatever we will be learning in this chapter, we call it as traditional absorption costing system. Then in the next chapter, whatever we will be learning is called modern technique of observing the overheads. Both the chapter talks about the treatment of overheads, guys. Okay. Guys, we have already learned about the material and labor, both being direct in nature. Both being direct in nature. Sir, what if it is indirect material, indirect labor? That will fall under overheads. That will fall under overheads. So in this chapter, whatever we will be learning is all about overheads, which is nothing but the sum of all the indirect expenses. Now, we can also classify the overheads based on different bases. Clear or classification. So what are the different types of overheads? First we will understand and then we will get into the numerical area. Yes. First, types of overheads on the basis of function. That is functional classification. If you remember, we have covered this even in first chapter. And now coming to all these are important, especially the functional classification is important for cost sheet also, guys. Clear? Because in the cost sheet, the presentation is in the same order. Okay, first let us see. Factory manufacturing or production overhead. This is an indirect expenses which is incurred in the factory, guys. Any expenses which is incurred in the factory but not directly related to production or product, we call it as the factory overhead. And please be careful, if nothing is mentioned, indirect material, indirect labor will always fall under this. Clear? And also anything related to plant and machinery, guys, because sometimes the question would be silent on plant and machinery. Plant and machinery is always used in the production process. So where the production is happening in the factory. So like depreciation on plant and machinery, repairs on plant and machinery should always be considered under the factory overhead. Then coming to office and administration overhead. Anything which is incurred for the purpose of formulation of policy, implementation of it, or administration of an organization will come under this. Next, selling and distribution overhead. See, this you can present it under the same head or you can differentiate it. Selling separately, distribution separately. Actually, selling is different, distribution is different. But when you are preparing the cost sheet and all, sir, can I club and write it under one? Yes. But if number of items are more, better to disclose it separately. Selling separately, distribution separately. Sir, what is selling overhead? The expenses which is incurred to create demand for my products. I should make the people aware of my products. No, so for that, if I'm incurring any expenses, that is called the selling overhead, like salesman commission or advertisement, marketing, like that. Then coming to distribution overhead. Sir, once the product is sold, to distribute to the customers, what all expenses I incur will come under distribution overhead, like secondary packing at the time of distribution or carry it outward. All those things come under this. Then types of overhead on the basis of nature or behavior. In the first chapter, we learned clear. So different types of expenses based on the behavior or variability. Sir, what are those? Here we are talking from overhead point of view, guys. Guys, please be careful. Direct material, direct labor, or other direct expenses, whichever is a forming part of prime cost, will always be variable in nature. Will always be variable in nature. But anything which comes after prime cost, that is the overhead expenditure, can be variable, can be fixed. Sir, how can I tell whether it is variable or fixed? Guys, if it is varying with the level of activity or level of units or production, then we call it as variable overhead. If not, sir, the total amount is fixed, then we call it as the fixed overhead. Then can also be in between both of these. What is it, sir? Semi-variable, which is partly fixed, partly variable. In that case, can we find out the variable portion, sir? Yes. How is it? Change in cost divided by change in output. You will get variable cost per unit. Clear? All these are important while solving the problems. Next, types of overhead on the basis of element. If you remember in the first chapter, okay, let me show it. Sir, you are simply telling first chapter, first chapter, first chapter. I already forgot, sir, whatever you are taught in first chapter. Yes. Chalo. So there are three elements of cost, correct? Material, employee cost or labor cost, and the last one is other expenses. Now under the direct is there, which is a part of prime cost, and also indirect is there. And also indirect is there. If I club all this, what is it called? Again, overheads. Now we are seeing that classification. Now we are seeing this classification, guys. Nothing new. We already covered all this. Now, as it is a overhead chapter, again repetition. That's all. Correct, no, Rohit? We covered all this yesterday afternoon. First day. Chalo. Indirect materials means the material which is incurred but not directly related to the production. Means I cannot tell for each and every unit how much I would have incurred. Maybe in that case we will call it as indirect material, or else it is directly not attributable to my product. Or even if it is attributable, sir, it is not economically feasible for me to calculate what is the amount of expenditure for each and every unit. Next, coming to indirect employee cost. Employee cost which cannot be allocated to the cost units or cost center. For example, there in the factory there is a factory supervisor for whom monthly salary 30,000 is paid. Now, can I tell for each and every unit how much we paid? No, sir, not possible. See, at the end, if I do some exercise and all, the total salary paid divided by total output, then I will get it. But is this expenses incurred for each and every unit produced? No, sir. So they are indirect in nature. And this will always fall under factory, guys. Especially in cost sheet, this is important. When they give indirect material, indirect labor cost, it will always fall under factory. Clear? If it is salary paid to like accountant or manager or even the director's fee, auditor's fee and all, that will come under administration. Okay. Next, any other indirect expenses means anything other than material and labor which is indirect in nature will fall under this category. Then types of overhead on the basis of control. If management or organization can control the expenditure, then we call it as controllable expenditure, maybe variable in nature. Clear? If we cannot control it, then we call it as uncontrollable overhead, guys. We cannot control means, sir, it is not in my control. Okay, for example, rent, whatever we are paying, which is fixed in nature, who will fix it? Will I fix it? No, the owner will fix it. Clear? Yes. Next, guys, these steps are important. In this chapter, what you can expect is numerical question. So these steps are important for solving the questions. What are those? Guys, overheads means it is indirect in nature. Now, listen. Sir, why first of all we are learning this chapter? Why are we learning this chapter? What is the purpose of it? Guys, see, material cost or direct material cost. We know how much it is per unit. Assume 20. Next, let me. Wages cost. Assume is 30. Now, what I want to know is total cost per unit. Correct? Any organization want to know what is the cost per unit of each and every product. Now, this too I can tell for each and every unit how much I have incurred. But when it comes to overhead, even overhead is a part of my cost. But can I tell for each and every unit how much I have incurred? No, sir. Now, sir, first of all, why do you know the total cost? Why do you want to know the total cost? Because I want to fix my selling price. Sir, I want to fix my selling price. To fix my selling price, I want to know cost. For cost, what do? I will add some profit and fix my selling price. Okay. Blindly, can I fix my selling price? No. Okay, sir. So one of the component of my cost is overhead. Until and unless I know that cost, I cannot know what is my total cost per unit. Let us just imagine it is 20, guys. It is 20. So my cost per unit comes to how much? 70. Assume I want to make profit for each and every unit sold 15 rupees. So I want to fix selling price for how much? 85. Yeah. Will I know this till I know my cost? No. Till I know my overhead, will I know my cost? No. So my task is to find out this, guys. Yeah. Until and unless I know this 20, I will not know my cost per unit. Now, is this incurred for each and every unit produced? No, sir. Now I need to do some exercise in order to find out this 20. That is what we are learning in this chapter. Sir, how do we find out this 20? We will call this as overhead recovery rate or overhead absorption rate. How do we figure it out is the task in this chapter. Okay, sir. How is it? There are various steps involved in it. We will see one by one. First one, estimation and collection of overheads. Guys, there will be different types of overhead expenditure which would be incurred in an organization. First, calculate all that. Clear estimate. See, most of the time what we do is we will calculate this in advance. Why, sir? Because guys, normally we will get to know the actual overhead incurred at the end of the year. But can I fix my selling price at the end of the year? No. So I should fix my selling price at the beginning of the year itself. So on the basis of estimation, I will try to figure out this figure. If I have to figure out this figure, then I need to estimate what all overhead expenditure I might be incurring throughout the year. Throughout the year. Okay, sir. So I will try to classify and calculate what all different types of overhead expenditure I will be incurring in the upcoming period. Then if it is a specific overhead means the overhead expenditure incurred for a particular department. I will straight away allocate it to that department. Clear up? Guys, see, there is two steps here. In the first step and second step, what is the cost object for us is department. Because we will allocate or apportion the cost to whom? To the departments. Clear up? So for us, what is the cost object in this step is the departments. Okay. If there is any expenditure being incurred for a particular department, assume for production department 1, straight away allocate. Sir, there is some common expenditure or we call it as general expenditure, which is incurred for all the departments put together. Then we call it as what? Common overhead. What do we do with this? We need to apportion it. Apportion it is nothing but share it among the departments. For whomever we have incurred it, just share it among them. Share it among them. We call it as apportionment. And to do that apportionment, we should have some suitable basis. What is it? Guys, this we call it as primary distribution. Sir, how is it? I will just show you here. Listen. Assume we totally have 5 departments in our organization. 3 production department, 2 service department. There are few expenditure which I have straight away incurred for a particular department. Assume indirect material, I have incurred for P2, straight away allocate. Assume indirect labor, I have incurred for P3, straight away allocate. Because I know for which department how much I have incurred. So should I do any apportionment? Should I need any ratio? No. I don't want any ratio here. Got it? I know how much I have incurred for which department. We will straight away allocate it. Then when it comes to common overhead means I have not incurred it for 1 or 2 department. I have incurred it as a whole. In that case, we call it as general overhead or common overhead. We will take the total and apportion it to each department. On what basis, sir? On suitable basis. And we should decide it. Sir, how is it possible? Guys, simple. Any expenditure we have incurred will be giving some benefit to us. Correct? For example, I am paying a rent of 1 lakh for a building. In a building, there are 5 departments. All these departments are using the floor space, area and square meter. That would be the basis. Why am I paying rent, guys? I am using the space of the owner, no? So that is the benefit we are getting. In what ratio this benefit is enjoyed by each department you see and allocated. Clear? Assume there is some expenditure relating to machine, which is common. 20,000 incurred for all the departments. Machine is used by all the departments. Clear? Normally it is used only by production department. Okay, let us take only production departments. So it is incurred for 2 or more departments. How do I apportion it? Based on machine hours. Is that clear? Or else, next assume there is an electricity bill for an entire building. The building has totally 5 departments. There is an electricity bill of, assume 10,000. Common expenses, how do I distribute it? How do I apportion it? Based on the units of electricity consumed. Okay, we need to figure out. This will be given in the question only. Don't worry. The basis will be given in the question. We need to choose which basis for which expenses. Clear? Suitable basis. Guys, always try to figure out like this. Why I have incurred this expenditure? I have got some benefit. What is that benefit? That will become the basis. Correct? Now, electricity bill I have incurred 10,000. Why? I have used electricity. So what is the basis there? Units of electricity consumed. Got it? Now assume there is a depreciation on any asset. The capital value will become the basis. Got it? Yes, sir. So this is called primary distribution. Both this put together is called primary distribution. At the end of primary distribution, we will have cost for whom? All the departments. That is production as well as service departments. Hope you are getting it. At the end of primary distribution, we will have cost for whom? For all the departments. That is production as well as service department. Why, sir? Because I would have incurred cost for everyone. Even service department is doing some work. They are also receiving some benefit. So, should cost be allocated or apportioned to them also? Yes. I will show one question also, just for better understanding this. Observe, this is primary distribution. See, indirect material, indirect wages normally will be straight away given for a particular department. So, I am taking it as actual. You can see I have maintained a separate column for basis. Please show that in the exam also. Don't keep it in your mind. Sir, I knew, sir, how I divided, how I apportioned. You don't keep it in your mind. Please put it. And also try to write the ratios. You can observe now how I have written. Either you can add one more column for the ratio, or else you can show either year or year. The ratio I am telling you. Oh. Now you can see I have written actual year because this is straight away specific overheads incurred for a specific department. Guys, one more important thing. Listen here. If it is indirect material, indirect wages, always overhead, no doubt in that. But in your primary distribution or secondary distribution, if by chance in the question, if they have given direct wages, direct material for service departments, please take it as overhead. Please take it as a part of overhead. Why, sir? Because for service department, there is nothing called direct. Why, sir? Because they are not engaged in production. Because they may try to confuse you by giving. See, if it is given as direct wages, direct material for production department, it is a part of prime cost. But if direct wages or direct material is given for service departments, please take it as a part of overheads. Sir, should we consider it in primary and secondary distribution? Yes, you have to consider it. Yeah. Whereas if it is a direct wages, direct material for production department, should we consider it in our primary distribution, sir? Don't consider it because that will be a part of primary cost, guys. Anything which we take care in this chapter is overhead. And let me tell one more thing, which is, let me keep it simple, keeping the long story short. Anything incurred for service departments is always overhead. Why, sir? Because they are not engaged in production. So is there any expenses which I will incur for service department which is direct in nature? No. No means no. Ashte. Oh. Then coming to, guys, see, you can observe indirect wages and indirect material. They have given for all the departments specifically in the question. Yes. It is a specific overhead. We did allocation. Whereas you can observe other things. They have given general expenses like this. So this is incurred for all the departments as a whole. Yes, sir. For this, we need to choose suitable basis. In the question, they would have given few basis. Out of that, which is the suitable, you have to pick it. Clear? Yes, you can observe they are given few the basis here. Okay, sir. Now all these are general overhead, which we need to do what? Apportionment. Using what? Suitable basis. Using suitable basis. You can just have a look into it. You will understand for which expenses, what is the suitable basis. Clear? In my regular class, I would have explained each and everything. What is the reason why we will take this basis and all in detail. But now let us not go in detail. Guys. Hope you guys are already thorough with that. Oh. And once I do this, at the end of primary distribution, we will have cost for every department, including production as well as service department. But now the question mark is, sir, what is my ultimate purpose of doing all this? To calculate overhead cost per unit. Now, is there any production happening in this service departments? No, sir. So what is the use of the cost here? No use, sir. So what should I do? I have to reapportion this cost to production department. Reason is simple. Sir, there is no production happening in service department. What do I do with that cost? Clear? So in the secondary distribution, I will reapportion this cost to the production department. We call that as secondary distribution or reapportionment. So, which are my service department, office, stores, workshop, whatever cost we have got here, we need to redistribute it. To whom, sir? To the production departments. So you can observe whatever is this cost which we have got in the primary distribution, that is the above table, we are redistributing it to P1, P2, P3. On what basis, sir? Guys, obviously these guys are supporting the production. In what ratio they are supporting? For example, office, what are they doing? They're doing some activities in order to support my production. So normally we need to take number of workers. If number of workers are not there, then number of workers depends on what? Direct wages. Take that. Yeah. Then store, what do they do? Store raw material. So direct materials we have taken as a base. Direct material we have taken as a base. Simple. First try to analyze what will this service department do. Okay. And then accordingly choose the basis. Choose the basis. And this is under secondary distribution under direct method. Under direct method, you are the one who are supposed to choose the basis. And if you are lucky enough, sometimes in the question only they may give basis also. Okay, sir. And workshop, what do they do? Sir, maybe whenever machine is at repair, they will repair the machines. So we are taking machine as work as a basis. And we will reapportion the Workshop department cost to production department. Got it. Now at the end, what do we get, sir? We will get only the cost for whom? Production department. Now, is production happening in the production department? Yes. Now, whatever number of units are produced in each department, just divide it. What do you get? Overhead cost per unit. If I just divide this cost by number of output in each department, what do I get, guys? Cost per unit or overhead cost per unit, which is nothing but overhead absorption rate or recovery rate. Hope you understood the reason. Yes, sir. Let me come back to my example here. That was a question. Okay. Now, fine, sir. At the end of primary distribution, this part is primary distribution, which includes two things. For specific overhead, what do we do? Allocate. For general overhead, what do we do? Apportion. And for apportioning, what do we need? Paste. Clear? Yes, sir. Now, at the end of primary distribution, we have cost for all the departments, sir. Now, let us take the service department cost and reapportion it. So what is the service department cost? Sir, 10 lakh. So 10 lakh, I am reapportioning it. I have just taken the ratio 3 is to 3 is to 4 and apportion it to P1, P2, P3. Same way, take this 15 lakh and reapportion it to P1, P2, P3. In what ratio, sir? 5 is to 6 is to 4. Clear? This ratio either has to be given in the question or you have to choose. They would have given various bases. You need to choose which is the suitable. Okay, very simple. What is this service department doing? If you know, you can aramse decide the basis, guys. Yeah. If they have given general name like this S1, S2 and all, you cannot decide what they are doing. In that case, they will only give the ratio. Or else in my question, I showed you office, workshop and all. If they give the name of a particular department like that, then you can decide, okay, what work they are doing and accordingly decide the suitable basis. Okay, sir. Sir, we did reapportionment. At the end of secondary distribution, can you observe something? Service department has no cost because we apportioned whatever they had, we reapportioned. Now only production department has a cost. Now, who is engaged in production? Only production department. Assume each of the department has produced 10,000, 15,000 and 12,000 units. Now, if I divide each other, what do I get, guys? Overhead cost per unit. Overhead cost per unit. This was my ultimate target in this chapter. Correct? I have to find out this. Why do you want to find out this, sir? Because I want to know total cost per unit. Why do you want to know the total cost per unit, sir? Because I want to fix my selling price. Got it? Yes. This is actually called as overhead absorption rate or recovery rate. Sir, what is the meaning of it? Simple, guys. 280 is what we got in P1. Na? As and when each and every unit is produced in P1, how much overhead cost we will charge? 280 rupees. We will know what is the direct material cost, direct labor cost because they are directly attributable to the product. But the overhead I may not know accurately. But by doing all this primary, secondary distribution and all, I have found out what is the overhead recovery rate, overhead absorption rate. So for each and every unit produced in P1, we will observe how much cost, overhead cost, 280. Hope you understood. Yes, sir. Chalo. And this part, whatever we have done here, is called secondary distribution or reapportionment. Clear? And for this, we have various methods also. What are those? We will discuss later. Hope you understand. Yes. Because when you know the purpose, sir, why are we doing all this? Then it becomes easy, guys. If you try to mug up the steps, this will come first, this will come next. If you don't know the reason, then it will not be so feasible for you to understand and do it. Oh, sure. Let us come back. So I guess we have discussed till here. Now coming to primary distribution is done, sir. Now we need to do secondary distribution. What is the reason why we need to do secondary distribution? Simple, sir. There is no production in service departments. What do I do with the cost in the service department? I need to reapportion it to production department, for which we need to do secondary distribution. Observe. Reapportionment of service department over production department using suitable basis. And this suitable basis, you will decide only if it is direct method. If it is reciprocal method and all, we have a different way of redistributing it. We will learn it. At the end, what do we get, guys? Absorption rate we get. So absorption of overheads by production units. The 280 what we got in PU1, what do we do with it? We will observe it for each and every unit produced. Clear? For example, in P1, assume in first month, 1000 units are produced. What is the overhead which will be observed? 1000 into 280. 1000 into 280. Okay, sir. No. The allocation or apportionment of an expenses is not dependent on its nature, but the relationship between the expense and cost center decide that whether it is to be allocated or apportioned. Simple. If there is an expenses which is incurred for a particular department, I know for which department how much. Locate it. No, sir, I have incurred for all the department put together. For example, simple guys. There is a one manager who is taking care of all departments. For him, monthly salary is 50,000. Should I do allocation or apportionment? Apportionment. On what basis, sir? Simple. He is giving his time for the organization. That is why we are paying him 50,000. Yes. How much time he is dedicating for each department you check? That would be the basis. That would be the basis, guys. Oh, coming back here, guys, these terms are important because you should know the meaning of each term. There is a difference between allocation, apportionment, and all. Please don't get confused. Allocation is for which overheads, guys? Specific overhead, which is incurred for a particular department, which will be already given in the question. You need not worry anything. You need to just take the actual figures. Then apportionment. Apportionment for which overhead? Common overhead, for which you need to have certain basis. Only then you can allocate it. That basis will be the ratio for apportionment, guys. Then reapportionment means what? Sir, redistributing the service department cost to production department. Where, sir? In secondary distribution. That is called reapportionment. And at the end of secondary distribution, we will get what is the overhead cost for each and every unit. That is nothing but recovery rate or absorption rate. One and the same. Clear? Using that, we will charge the overhead cost to each and every unit produced. That is called absorption. Absorption or recovery of overheads. Oh. Now coming to methods of reapportionment. Methods of reapportionment means for this guys. Okay, that is for secondary distribution. What are the various methods available, sir? One by one. Following are the methods of redistribution of service department cost to production department. The first method is direct distribution method. Guys, under direct distribution method, service departments are giving service only to production department. They are not giving services to each other. They are not giving services to each other. And here we will select one suitable basis and we will reapportion the cost. I showed you one question, right? That one. So see, this is the primary distribution. Whatever cost we have got for service department, office, stores and workshop is a service department. Okay. So they have asked us to do secondary distribution here under direct method. So we need to believe that service departments are giving services only to production department. Sir, is office giving service to stores? No. Is stores giving services to office? No. Sir, what if they are giving? Then we have other methods to redistribute. Clear? So here I repeat, we can follow direct method only when service departments are giving services to only production departments. Clear? Yes. So it select a suitable basis and reapportion the service department cost only to production department. Only to production department. You can do this way or else. I showed you an example here. Now you can do it in this way also. Okay, where in the second step, sorry, where is it? In the second step, you will just put the negative, whatever you have got for service department and distribute it to only production department. Okay, so that you ensure that at the end of secondary distribution, you have zero cost for this service department. Or else, sir, in the second step, if I am doing a separate table, like how I showed in the question, you can completely ignore service department. You can take the service department cost here in the particulars and distribute. This is another way. Both ways you can do it. This is secondary distribution. Whereas in the my example, whatever I just now show, I have done both in the same table. That is primary distribution as well as secondary distribution. Okay. Coming to step method. Under step method, we will keep on reapportioning the service department cost to service as well as the production department. But we need to do it in the sequence, in the step. Sir, which service department cost will be reapportioned first? Whichever service department is giving the highest service. We will take that as first. Highest being the first, we will follow the same order. Clear? For example, there are three service department. One is giving majority service. So that service department cost has to go to another two service department plus production departments. Plus production department. And please select the ranking of the service department. Very important. Clear? Yes. Sir, if by chance if nothing is given, how do we decide the step, sir? Simple. Whichever service department cost is highest, give first ranking for that. Wherever the amount is highest, give the first ranking for that. Okay. For that also I have an example. Let's see that. This one. You can see we are doing the reapportionment under step method. Guys, Theo, I am taking in the same order how the ranking is there. So for service department 3, the cost is highest. So I am giving the rank 1. Then for S2 rank 2 and for S1 rank 3. Sir, how did you decide it? See, normally they will give it in the question or else you decide it based on the amounts. Okay, S3's cost is highest. So I am considering that as it is providing the highest service. So what is S3 cost guys? 6 lakh. We need to reapportion to whom and all? S2. Okay, S2, yes, sorry, here. Okay, 6 lakh I will apportion it to S2, S1, P1, P2, P. Same way, next we are taking S2. What is the cost of S2? 3 lakh plus they would have received something from S3, correct? Now let us take it as 350, assuming they have received 50 here. Okay, yes. So we need to reapportion 350 for whom and all? Only S1, P1, P2, P3. Sir, should we do it for S3? No, no, don't go back. Don't go back. Same way. Now, what is the S1's cost? 2 lakh plus they would have received something from S3 and S2 also. Na? They would have received something from S. Where is it? They would have received something from S3 and S2. Let us consider that totally as 1 lakh. This both put together as 1 lakh. So totally 2 plus 1, which will come to 3 lakh. We need to reapportion to only production departments. The last service department cost has to be reapportioned only to production department. Hope you are understanding that. So you can see we are following a step here. Step ladder we call this. Clear? So please arrange the service department columns first. And in what order will you arrange? First highest service department and keep on allocating the same. I didn't take S1 here first. Why? Because they are not ranking 1. They are not the rank 1. Whichever is rank 1, place them first. Rank 2, rank 3. Then production departments. Then production department. Hope you understood. Got it? Yes. Sure. Next. Reciprocal service method means, guys, in step method, what happened is, sir, we will allocate S3 cost to S2, but not S2 cost to S3. Correct. What if S3 is giving service to S2 and also receiving from S2? I repeat, S3 is giving service to S2 and also they are receiving it. In that case, can we follow step method? No, sir. We call it as reciprocal service method. That is, assume guys, we both are service department. I am giving service to you. You are also giving service to me. We cannot follow direct method or we cannot follow step method. Then which is the suitable method, sir? Reciprocal service method, which has 3 things there. Yeah. What are those? One by. Where there are 2 or more service department, they may render services to each other. And therefore, this interdepartmental services are to be given due weight while redistributing the expenses of service departments. So we have 3 methods to do that. What are those? One by one. First one, simultaneous equation method. Guys, one more thing. Let me clarify it before only. If you follow either of this method, end result will remain same. All 3 methods, end result is same. The only way we do is different, but the end result will remain same. Clear? Yes. And in the question, they would have asked you which method you have to follow. If by chance, if question is silent, you can follow simultaneous equation or repeated distribution. Preferably, you follow repeated because it will save time. It will save time. Hope you understood. But if they have given in the question itself which method to follow, please follow that only. Clear? Yes. Sir, they asked in the question simultaneous equation. I felt I have too much time taking. So I followed repeated distribution because I remember you telling in the class. I told if question is silent, you follow repeated. Clear? If they have specifically asked something, please follow the same. Oh, what do we do under simultaneous equation method? Guys, see at the end of primary distribution, whatever cost we would have got is not the final cost of the service department. Why, sir? Because one service department would have given services to each other. So a part of their cost has to go to the others. So in that case, we will form an equation to find out what is the total cost of service department cost. Then we will redistribute the total cost of service departments to whom? Other departments. Sir, how is it, sir? Theoretically, I am not getting an idea, sir. Let me explain it through a question, guys. Okay. See, all this we have already covered it in the class, guys. I'm just explaining with the steps. Okay. So that you will understand how do we deal each of the method. Listen. Sir, they have told P is nothing but service department. They are giving 30% service to A, 40% service to B, and 20% service to C, as well as 10% service to Q. Q is the service department. So P is giving services to Q also. Okay. Then Q is a service department which is giving 10, 20, 50, and 20% service to P also. So can I consider this as reciprocal services? Yes, sir. Because P is giving services to Q and Q is also giving services to P. Reciprocal. So in this question, how I have done is, first, they have already given the primary distribution. Sometimes even you have to do it, guys. Clear? Whatever figures they have given, we need to just total it up. I have done it here. So this is the end of primary distribution. This is the end of primary distribution. Now at the end of primary distribution, we have got a cost of 4,000 and 2,600 for P and Q. Is it the total cost of P and Q departments? No. Why, sir? Because a part of Q's cost has to go to P. Same way, a part of P's cost has to go to Q. So I cannot tell this is my final cost. So now we need to find out what is the final cost of P department and Q department. How do I find it out, sir? Simple. We are forming an equation. Please pay attention. Now, for department for department P, let us assume the total cost is X. Let us assume the total cost is X. And for department Q, let us assume the total cost is Y. We don't know. Clear? Guys, listen. 4,000 plus something will be the total cost of P. Same way, for Q, 2,600 plus something will be the total cost. That plus something, where do we get, sir? P will get from Q and Q will get from P. Clear? We need to find out that figure. That is the total cost figure. For that, we are forming an equation. Come on. X is the total cost of whom? Department P. Y is the total cost of whom? Q. Okay. Now, what is the total cost of Department P? 4,000 listen, whatever is the total cost of Q, a certain percentage has to go to P. Why, sir? Simple. Q is giving service, 20% service to P. Correct. Now, whatever is the total cost of Q, what is it? Y for us. 20% of that should go to Department P. Correct. Because they are giving 20% services to whom? P. So, what is the total cost of Department Q, guys? Y. 20% of that should go to X. That is nothing but Department P. Department P. Hope you understood. I repeat, I have assumed the total cost of Department P is X and Q is Y. Sorry, Y. Got it? Now, what is X means? 4,000 plus 20% of Y. Sir, why this 20% of Y, sir? Because Q is giving 20% service to P. So whatever is the total cost of Q, 20% of that should go to Department P. Same way. If I ask you what is the total cost of Department Q, it is Y. But numerically, it should be 2,600 plus how much P is giving services to Q? X into 10%, 10%. It has to go to them. X into 10%. What is X, sir? Total cost of Department P. They are giving how much services to Q? 10%. So whatever is the total cost of P, 10% of that has to go to whom? To Department Q. Hope you understood. With that, we have formed an equation. We have formed an equation. Now we need to solve this. We need to solve it. So in place of X, we have taken this value here. We have taken this value and we have solved X and Y. Hope you guys can take care of that. Next, sir, we have got the total cost of Department P and Q. How much, sir? 3,061 and 4,612. Total cost after considering the service given by each other. Clear? Yes. Please be careful. This figure and that figure will not match because this is before reapportionment. Okay. Yes. So we have got 3,061 and 4,612. What should we do? In the next table, we will take this and reapportion it to all the department, guys. 4,612. We will reapportion it in what ratio? 4,612 is whose cost? P's cost. So we will redistribute in this ratio, guys. 30, 40, 20 and 10, including for Q. Same way. Q's cost is how much, sir? 3,061, including 461 what they received from P. Correct? Yes. We will redistribute it in what ratio, sir? 10, 20, 50 and 20%. Clear? Yes. Guys, one thing you have to be careful here is, please listen here. While redistributing it, please take the total cost. Don't take the cost as per primary distribution. Whatever cost we have got by solving the equation, please take that. Please take that. Okay, sir. Then coming to repeated distribution method. Let me explain it here only. Very easy, sir. Very easy and less time consuming. What is it? Guys, we will prepare a column for all the departments. Try to put service department first and production department next. Columns wise. First, we will start with first department. P is cost. P cost we will take. How much is that, sir? 4,000. In P column, put it in negative and redistribute it to everyone. In what ratio, sir? P is giving in what ratio? This ratio. Clear up. Then take Q's cost. How much is Q's cost, sir? 2,600 plus they have received from P how much? 400, which comes to 3,000. Distribute it to P, A, B, C. In what ratio, sir? Whatever ratio they have given in the question. Clear up? Yes. And please be careful while redistributing it. Please be careful with the columns. Because the columns, what is given in the question would be different and what you have taken here might be different. When you are redistributing, I suggest you to take first service department and then production department. But in the question, they would have not given in the same order. But when you are taking the ratio now, by mistake, you may commit a by mistake, you may take it to the wrong columns. Okay. Yes. Then again, sir, this guy has received 600. Redistribute it to Q, A, B, C. Then again, next step, this guy has received 60. No, redistribute it. 60 has to be redistributed to whom and all? P, A, B, C. Then they have received 12, right? Redistribute it. So 12 has to be redistributed to whom and all, sir? It has to be redistributed to Q also. But I want to stop it here only. When it is nearer to 0, stop it as. Yeah, theoretically they will tell when it is 0, you stop anta, but I cannot go till 0 because when you start the redistributing decimal, there is no end for it. Okay, so you will get 12 into 10%, I guess 1.2, but I'm not taking it. Why? Because in the next step, I cannot redistribute 1.2. Clear? So when it is near to 0, also stop it. So whereas here I have adjusted that amounts. Here I have rounded off and adjusted. Make sure that here, if you total up, you will get 12. You will get 12. Is that clear? So now if you add up, you will get cost only for production departments, guys. Production department. And if they have asked you to calculate recovery rate and all, they would have given hours. Just divide each other. You will get the machine hour rate or the overhead rate per hour. Is that clear? Yes. This is repeated distribution method. We will keep on distributing the service department cost to other service department as well as production department. Till when, sir? Till the cost of service department becomes 0 or nearer to 0. Nearer to 0. Don't try to take it till 0, guys. It will not happen. Even when it is nearer to 0 or 1, stop it. Okay, sir. Next, trial and error method. Under trial and error method, very similar to repeated distribution, but in repeated distribution, even production departments will come. Whereas in trial and error, we will take only service departments. Oh, what do we do here, sir? Take the cost as per primary distribution as the base, then keep on distributing service department cost to another service department. So what is the P's cost? 4,000. How much service they are giving to Q? 10%. Allocate 400. Now what is Q's cost? 2,600 plus 400, 3,000. How much Q is giving service to P? 20%. So 3,000 into 20% goes here. Next step, again take 600 and distribute it in 10%. Sir, why are you taking only 600? Because 4,000 is already apportioned. But here, why did you add up, sir? Because 2,600 was not yet apportioned. So I took the total of both. Clear? Yes. So 600, I took 10% of that, 60. Again 60 into 20%, 12. Then 12 into 10%, I am taking it one, stop it. Don't start redistributing one and all. Clear? Yes, sir. We got the total overhead cost of service department. Like in the first method, using the equation, we got this now, but here in the table itself, we have got. Guys, please be careful. This is different from repeated distribution method because in repeated distribution method, we will also take production department and only one step here. But in trial and error method, we have two steps. What we have got here is total cost of service department. Now you need to prepare one more table. Whatever cost we have got here, redistribute it to whom and also Q, A, B, C. Same way, take the total cost of Q and redistribute it to P, A, B, C. And ensure that at the end, the cost of service department is nil or zero, guys. Nil or zero. Is that clear? Yes. This is nothing but same like how we did in simultaneous equation method. So in simple, if I have to tell, for simultaneous equation method and trial and error method, we need to solve it in two steps. In the first step, you need to find out what is the total cost of service department cost. Then you need to redistribute it in the second table. To whom, sir? To other service department as well as production department. Whereas in repeated distribution method, only one step. Only one step. In first step itself, we will do that. Got it? Yes. And one more information, guys. We have discussed all the methods. One more information. See, here I taught you how do we find out, sir, overhead cost per unit. Okay, sir, how did we get it? Simple. At the end of secondary distribution, whatever is the cost of production department divided by number of units produced in each department. Got it? Instead of output, if they have given machine hours or labor hours, then we will get this as the overhead cost per hour. Okay, assume this is like machine hours. Machine hours. Okay, now what is this machine hour rate? Machine hour rate. How much is that, sir? 280. What do we do with it, sir? Simple. Listen now. Assume in production department P1, to produce each and every unit, we are taking 2 machine hours. So what is the overhead cost to be observed? 280 into 280 into 2. Same way, assume in P3, to produce each and every unit of output, my machine will work for 3 hours. So what is the overhead cost per unit to be observed? 250 into 3. Hope you understand. Clear? Now let us take it in another way. Sir, assume instead of this production output, it is labor hours, sir. Labor hours. So this is labor hours. Whatever you get here is called labor hour rate. Means overhead cost per labor hour. Sir, what do I do with it? Simple. Assume 280 is the labor hour rate. To produce each and every unit in P1, a labor has to work for 1 hour. What is the overhead absorption rate? 280 into 1. Same way, assume in P3, to produce each and every unit of output, a worker has to work for 5 hours. What is the overhead to be observed for each and every unit? 250 into 5. Hope you understood. Means this can be output, this can be labor hours, this can be machine hours. Any of them. Normally, this 3 will come. Clear? Yes. Going back. So I have explained all these methods. Next. At the end, once I do all this, what do we do, sir? We will observe the overheads over the cost units or products. Over the cost units or products is nothing but output. Whatever we get here, no, guys. Even in this question, we have solved that. At the end, we have calculated production hour recovery rate, sir. Production hour recovery rate. We also call it as absorption rate. Absorption rate. In simple, I will tell you. In production department A, we have got 9.5 now, sir. Assume to produce each and every unit, we are working for 2 hours. So what is the overhead to be observed? 9.5 into 2. Got it? This process is called observing the overhead. Who is observing the overhead? Output. The products. Clear? Yes, sir. Next. Methods of observing the production overheads. Guys, see, most of the time we will estimate the overhead because I cannot wait till the end of the year. If I wait till the end of the year, I will know what is the overhead cost. Correct? But can I wait till the end of the year? No. So what does the company do is based on their past figures, they will fix a percentage. How much is my factory overhead or how much is my overhead as a percentage of labor cost or as a percentage of prime cost? They will fix a percentage. Clear? How do they fix the percentage? Based on past figures. Now assume in the current year, I know what would be my direct wages. Assume my factory overhead is 50% of direct wages. I will apply 50% of direct wages is my factory overhead. Clear? So that is what we are seeing. How do we observe the overheads? Based on like certain percentages. Percentage of direct material cost. Here what do we do, sir? Factory overhead divided by material cost into 100. Assume guys we will get 20% here. Clear? So what does this 20% mean, sir? See, when I don't know the exact amount of factory overheads, so what do I do is, whatever is my direct material cost, 20% of that is my estimated factory overhead. Clear? Same way, instead of direct material cost, I can take prime cost, which includes material, labor, and other direct expenses. Or else I can also take direct labor cost. This is what preferably followed. At the end of cost sheet also I would have given a note telling factory overhead is recovered as a fixed percentage of what? Direct labor cost. Clear? Normally this is what is followed if you are doing an estimation, where I will take factory overhead divided by labor cost into 100. Assume you are getting it as 10%. I know for the current year or for the upcoming year what is the direct labor cost, because when I know what is the level of output I have to produce, I will know what is the direct labor cost. But I may not know the exact amount of factory overhead. So what do? I will take 10% of my wages as what? The factory overhead. As the factory overhead. Okay, sir. So all these are optional, guys. Clear, sir? Will the company for all three? No, anyone out of this. Anyone out of this. Next, direct labor hour rate. I told you, instead of taking the output year, guys, instead of taking the output year, if labor hours is taken, then what do we call this as? Labor hour rate. Labor hour rate. Sir, instead of taking labor hours, what if I take machine hour? Then whatever I get is called as what? Machine hour rate. Machine hour rate, guys. So under direct labor hour rate, we are calculating what is the factory overhead cost per labor hour. Per labor hour. Got it? So factory overhead divided by labor hours. And normally when we are taking labor hours, it will be direct labor hours. Okay. And I have already told you what is the use of this. Simple. Assume labor hour rate we have got 100. In production department 1, we need to work for 2 hours to produce each and every unit. What is the overhead to be observed? 100 into 2. That is the purpose of calculating the labor hour rate, guys. Yes. So, next. Machine hour rate. Guys, important. From numerical point of view also, they are asking questions on this. Machine hour rate. Sir, what is machine hour rate? Simple. We will calculate what all overhead expenditure is incurred with respect to machine, either direct or indirect, both. Divide. Direct means directly attributable to machine I am talking about. Obviously, anything we discuss in this chapter is overheads. But there might be some expenses which is directly attributable to machine, some indirectly. Will we take both? Yes. Okay. We will take the overhead expenditure divided by machine hours. What do we get, sir? Machine hour rate, which in simple means to run a machine for 1 hour, what is the cost we are incurring? What is the cost we are incurring? Yes, sir. Okay. Machine hour rate implies cost of running a machine for an hour to produce the goods. By the machine hour rate method, manufacturing overhead expenses are charged to the production on the basis of number of hours a machine or machines are used on the jobs or work orders. So we have two ways of calculating it. What is it, sir? Direct machine hour rates. Guys, here we will take only the expenses which is directly or immediately connected to machine. If there is any expenses which is not directly connected to machine, we will not take it. Clear? So amount of overheads directly connected to machine divided by machine hour. We will get machine hour rate. But if they are asking you the question, will you follow this? No. Actually, we normally prefer this. So in this, what do we take it in the numerator? Both the expenses which is directly connected to the machine or even if it is indirectly connected. We call it as common overhead. For common overhead, what we used to do, guys? Apportion it. For example, assume supervisor is working for 3 machines. His salary is 10,000 per month. Now, can we do apportionment for one machine? How much? Yes. Same way. Sir, we are paying a rent for factory. Assume 20,000 per month. And in this factory building, we are using 10 machines. Can we calculate for one machine how much? Yes. Do the apportionment. Do the apportionment. And don't worry, in the question, they would have only given some hint for you to do that apportionment. Okay, sir. So here what do you do, guys? You will take total cost which is incurred for the machine either directly or indirectly, divide it by machine hours. But while doing this, one important thing, guys, is to differentiate variable cost and fixed cost. Variable cost is also called as running charges or machine cost. Okay, machine running cost. Whereas the fixed cost is also called as standing charges. Sir, what is it? Simple. Variable cost or running charge means if it is varying with your machine hours. Higher the machine hours, higher would be this cost. Lower the machine hours, lower would be this cost. We call this as running cost or variable cost. Sir, what is fixed cost or standing charges? The cost which will remain fixed irrespective of how many hours my machine will work. Irrespective of how many hours my machine will work, it will remain fixed, sir. Okay. Now coming to guys, there are 2-3 expenses where you will have a doubt whether it is variable or fixed, like depreciation, maintenance, especially this two. See, normally repairs and maintenance depends on how many hours machine is working. Why is that? Higher the number of hours the machine is working, higher would be the repairs and maintenance. Correct now, because assume you are working only for 100 hours, repairs and maintenance would be less. Whereas you are working for 500 hours, double shift, triple shift, you are working the machines. The repairs and maintenance would be more clear. So repairs and maintenance, you can consider it as variable. But if you observe the ICI answers, for some questions they consider it as variable, for some questions they consider it as the fixed. So you take a chance. You take a chance in the sense, you consider any one and give a note for it. Give a note properly for it. Clear. But what I suggest is, if they have given repairs and maintenance, assume they have given 500 per month, 1000 per annum. If they have given the fixed amount like that, better to take it as fixed cost. Better to take it as a fixed cost. Then coming to depreciation part. Even depreciation, higher the amount of higher the machine has worked, higher would be the depreciation. Clear? Yes, sir. So you can consider it as variable. But in the question, when they give SLM method, under SLM method, the amount of depreciation per year is fixed every year. So better to take it as fixed. Better to take it as fixed. Most of the time they give SLM method. Means they will give you cost, scrap value and useful life. Cost minus scrap value divided by useful life is the depreciation per annum. So where to take it better, sir? Fixed. Clear? And whenever these two items are there, you would have taken it as fixed or even variable. Please give a note, whatever treatment you have done. Clear? By chance, guys, I'm telling you. If they tell depreciation in the question is based on machine hours, then better treat it as variable. For example, they would have given like this. Cost of the machine is 10 lakh. The maximum useful hours or maximum estimated machine hours for this machine is 10,000. In the first year, we have worked for 1,000 hours. So better to treat this depreciation as variable because they have given the information relating to hours. Clear? Yes, from question to question it will vary. So if you guys have already solved good number of questions in your regular class, then you would already have an idea where to treat how. Clear? So that I'm giving you the input. If question is silent, what do you take it? Yeah, nothing wrong if you consider it under both. Both means you don't consider for same question under both, either of them. I'm telling you, either of them. Yes. Preferably take it as fixed. Okay, sir. I will just show you how do you present the machine hour rate. This is very important, guys, because you need to segregate between variable and fixed. That is important. If not, you will lose the marks. Just a minute. You can see here, this is a question on machine hour rate. I have given the breakup between fixed cost and variable cost. You can see. Clear. You have to give the breakup. See, even if you don't give breakup, this total will remain same only. But you will lose step marking. Please don't do that. Yes. Then you need to divide it by productive machine hours. See, machine hours sometimes will be given in the question or sometimes you need to find out. Okay. So total available hours, from that you need to reduce something called as maintenance time, setup time and all. Clear? You will get what's up? Productive machine hours. And if there is any electricity consumption, power consumption and all, please always take it for this hours. Please take it for this hours. If by chance, if they have given in the question that electricity is consumed even for setup time, then you have to consider the electricity for how many hours? 2122 year. In the question, if they have specifically given. If nothing is given, we will consider that electricity is consumed for this hours. That is productive machine hours. Clear? So you need to divide this by what, sir? Total. Total machine cost divided by machine hours. You will get machine hour rate. Is that clear? So this is one way of presenting where you have written only amount column. Or else you can also add one more like per hour column. Per hour column. If you are adding per hour column, what you do is first find out total fixed cost divided by machine hours. So this is the standing charges per hour. Then variables straight away show per hour. Observe the presentation. Okay. Sir, is it required to show each of the fixed cost per hour, sir? I don't think so. Not required. I don't suggest. What you do is find out the total fixed cost divided by hours. You show fixed cost per hour as a whole how much. Whereas variable you can show individually. Variable cost you can show individually. Hope you understand. Clear? Sir, do you suggest us to have a separate column per hour? Yes, you can have it. Clear? If you have time, better to present per hour also. No, sir, I am running short of time. I don't have so much time in the examination hall. Then this I suggest. But this is like second option. If you cannot present the per hour column, only then you go with it. If possible, try to do like this. So even in the class, I have solved questions in both the ways. Okay, more questions we have solved in this way. Clear? Yes, sir. Chal, we'll move forward. Then rate per unit of output method means here we will calculate the overhead cost per unit. How do we get it, sir? Simple. Divide the amount of overhead by the output. By output. Guys, see this overhead rate per unit. You can calculate either at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year. If you calculate it at the beginning of the year, we call it as predetermined overhead rate. If you calculate it at the end of the year, you call it as actual overhead rate. I repeat, assume guys you have waited till the end of the year. Now you know what is the actual overhead. You know what is the actual output. If you divide the actual overhead divided by actual output, what do you get? The actual overhead rate. Actual overhead rate. When do you calculate? At the end of the period. Once all the activity is done and closed. But normally for observing the overhead, do we follow this, sir? No. If I wait till the end of the year, then how will I charge the cost to my products? How will I fix my selling price? So normally as per the industry standards, what does the company follow is predetermined overhead rate. When is this calculated, sir? At the beginning of the year or before the year starts. So in that case, I would have estimated my overhead cost divided by estimated base, that is like estimated output. I will get predetermined overhead rate. When do I calculate it, guys? At the beginning of the year. Assume we have got predetermined overhead rate as 10 rupees. So for each and every unit I produce, how much overhead we will observe? 10 rupees. 10 rupees. Now, assume guys my actual output by the end of the year is 1 lakh. So as and when I produce one unit, how much I am observing? 10 rupees. So what is the total overhead I would have observed? 10 lakh. By the end of the year, I would have observed totally how much? 10 lakh. Now at the end of the year, you know what is the actual overhead? Yes. Assume your actual overhead, either of the two is there. Because very rarely it will match exactly with 10 lakh as. Because you cannot estimate with 100% accuracy. Okay, sir. So at the end of the year, assume your actual overhead is 12 lakh, but you have observed 10 lakh. You have observed less or more? Less, sir. So there is an under absorption of 2 lakh. Under absorption of 2 lakh. Same way, if I take the other one, assume the actual overhead at the end of the year is 9 lakh, but I have observed how much? 10 lakh. I have observed more or less? More. So 1 lakh is over absorption. Over absorption. And we will also discuss the treatment of this. What do we do with this under absorption or over absorption? We have a treatment of it. We will discuss next. Clear? Yes. Hope you got it. Clear. And whenever the company is following the predetermined overhead rate for absorption of overheads, definitely at the end of the year, definitely at the end of the year, there will be either of the two situation. Either of the two. What is it, sir? Either under absorption or over absorption. Both cannot come. Both cannot come simultaneously. Anyone. Anyone. Okay. Or I will write. Or okay, sir. Now, guys, here in this example, what I told, for each and every department, we calculated a separate rate of absorption rate. We call this as departmental overhead rate. When do we follow it? Sir, each department is engaged in production. Each department is producing the output. So for each department, I need to calculate separate overhead rates. We call it as departmental overhead rate. Departmental overhead rate. Okay. Whereas, if the organization is producing only one product, all three production department, what they are doing is P1 will start the production, they will do some activity, send it to P2. P2 they will do their work, send it to P3. P3 will complete the product and send it to sales department. Clear to sell it. So in that case, output would be there only in P3. Only in P3, the final output. Correct. So now how do I calculate the overhead rate? Simple. Add up all the cost. Add up the cost of all the departments divided by output. So now are we getting the one rate for the entire company or one rate for each department? one rate for the entire company. We call it as blanket overhead rate. When we are following one rate for the entire company as a whole or entire factory as a whole, we call it as blanket overhead rate, guys. Blanket overhead rate. Previous case, what I told, we have separate rate for each department. What do we call it as? Departmental overhead rate. Means for each department, we have a separate rate. Why is that? Because each of them are producing the output, sir. Each of them are producing output. In that case, can we have a separate rate for each department? Yes. Whereas in the second case, it was not like that. It was not like that. So the final output is there only in P3, sir. So in that case, we will add up all the overhead cost, divide it by the output. We will get one rate for the company as a whole. Okay. So first we will see departmental overhead rate. It refers to the computation of one single overhead rate, not for the company, for each department or production unit. So overhead cost allocated or apportioned for that department divided by what is the output of that department. Cost of the particular department divided by output of that department. You will get overhead cost for that particular department. Whereas in blanket overhead rate, it is different. This can be asked even as theory questions. Please be careful. Blanket overhead rates. Blanket overhead rate refers to the use of one single or general overhead rate for the whole factory. Means for the entire factory or entire company, one rate. So we will calculate the overall cost for entire factory. Assume we have 5 different departments. Add up all the cost. Add up all the cost and take it as a numerator. Divide it by what? The output. Divide it by the output. Output of what? The department or for the company? For the company as a whole. Okay, sir. When do we follow blanket rate, guys? A blanket rate should be applied in the following cases where only one major product is being produced. Only one product we are producing on a continuous basis. Can I follow blanket rate? Yes. All production departments are working on what? One product. Is each department producing separate products? No, sir. Everyone are producing same product. P1 will do their work and send it to P2. P2 will do their work and send it to P3. P3 will complete. Okay. Or else, second scenario, very rare to happen, but still theoretically they are given. What is it, sir? Where several products are manufactured. Okay. Several multi-product company. But all products pass through all departments. Okay. Every product pass through all the department and they will take same length of time in each department. Sir, how is it possible? Assume we are manufacturing 3 products and we have 5 departments. All these 3 products will pass through all 5 departments and in each department they will take same length of time. Sir, how is it possible? Practically not possible. Correct. But for theoretically, academically, this is there. If at all, if there is any theory question, please write it. Clear? Even if you are producing multiple products, it should take same length of time in each department. In that case, can we follow blanket rate? Yes. Okay, we are done with this. So here I explained about the predetermined overhead rate, right? Yes. So if company is following the predetermined overhead rate, predetermined overhead rate is calculated at the beginning or at the end, guys? Beginning. So at the end of the year, there will be 2 possibilities. What is it, sir? Under or over? Under absorption or over absorption? See, because guys, we are calculating the predetermined overhead rate at the beginning of the year. How much did we get here, sir? 10 rupees. For each and every unit we produce, assume in the first month we produce 1000 units. How much overhead we will absorb? 1000 into 10. Clear? Like that, every month we will be keep on observing. By the end of the year, assume guys, we got to know that total units produced is 1 lakh units. How much overhead would have been absorbed by the end of the year? 10 lakh. Will it exactly match with what is the actual overhead I have incurred? No, sir. Why? Because this was purely based on estimation. Guys, standing at the beginning of the year, can I oversee my future? Can I tell exactly what point I will go and reach at the end of the year? There will be some chances of plus or minus. Clear? So the difference between this and this is inevitable. Means it is bound to happen. By chance, sir, no, sir, I am Baba. I can predict it exactly the same. Then there is no chances of under absorption or over absorption. Clear? If this is exactly equal to 10 lakh, then no question of under, no question of over. But it will happen. Under or over will be there. So if actual overhead, when do I get to know the actual overhead, guys? At the end of the year. Compare that with the observe. there will be a difference. The difference is called under absorption or over absorption. Guys, if overhead absorbed is less than overhead incurred, what do we call that situation as? Under. We have observed less. Under absorption. I have already observed more than what I have incurred. What do we call it as? Over absorption. I have already observed more. Clear? Yes. This will come only when the company is following predetermined overhead rate steps. So you can see I have given here overhead observed is less than overhead incurred. We call it as under absorption. If overhead observed is more than overhead incurred, then we call it as over absorption. Any one will happen, guys, not both. Any one, not both. Oh. Now treatment. Treatment is also important because you can get a numerical question on this. Under absorption or over absorption of overhead. First try to figure out the reason. Sir, what is the reason for it? What is the reason for it? If the reason is, sir, if the value is small or if it is due to abnormal reasons, means I would have avoided it, but still it happened. Due to my negligence, it happened. In that case, whatever is the amount of under absorption or over absorption, we will charge it to costing P&L account, guys. We will charge it to costing P&L account if it is abnormal. If it is abnormal, whether it is under or over absorption. Sir, what is the treatment? What is the treatment? Listen now. If it is abnormal and if it is under absorption, guys, if it is under absorption, normally it will have debit balance. How is it also? I will explain. Don't worry. If it is under absorption, it will have debit balance. And if that under absorption is due to abnormal reason, how do I close it? By crediting it. What do I debit it, sir? Costing P&L. What do I debit? Costing P&L. Sir, what if it is over absorption? Then it will have a credit balance. How do I close an account which is having credit balance? By debiting it. So what is the entry? Over absorption to costing profit and loss account. Costing profit and loss account. Okay, sir. This is when it is due to abnormal reason or if it is of a small value which is immaterial. Treat it as the abnormal and charge it to costing P&L account. Sir, what if it is due to normal reason, unavoidable? Then we need to calculate something called as supplementary rate and apply it to the products. Apply it to the products what, sir? Produced. Now assume, guys, we have produced 1000 units. We have produced 1000 units. In that, 800 units is sold, 200 units is closing stock. So for this 200 units, I would have already calculated cost of goods sold. And for this 200 units, I would have already calculated cost of closing stock. Yes, sir. Now, first find out what is the amount of under absorption or over absorption. Divide it by 1000 units. Divide it by 1000 units. Assume you get 5 rupees. You get 5 rupees. How much has to be adjusted against cost of goods sold? 5 into 800. How much has to be adjusted against cost of closing stock? 5 into 200. How did I get this 500? 5 is called supplementary rate. How did I get it? Simple. Amount of under absorption or over absorption divided by the output. Divided by the output. Sir, what is the treatment of it? Simple. If it is under absorption, it will have what balance, guys? Debit balance. How do I close it? By crediting it. Debit whom, sir? For good stock of finished goods, that is for closing stock. And if there is any WIP, debit WIP account. For goods sold, cost of sales or cost of goods sold. Clear? In my example, this will be for 800 and this will be for 200. And WIP I have not taken. If there is WIP, you have to consider that also. Sir, what if it is over absorption? Over absorption means it will have credit balance. How do I close it? By debiting it. What should I credit, sir? Same items which I debited here, I should credit here. Why are you crediting it, sir? I already charged more. How will I remove it now? By giving a credit. Normally, this accounts will have debit balance, but I already charged more. Over absorption. I have already debited more. How will I remove that excess? By giving credit. By giving a credit. Hope you understood. And one thing you have to be careful, guys. For WIP, if there is a WIP, while calculating the denominator, you need to take equivalent units. For example, assume WIP is 100 units, with respect to which 40% work is done. What is the equivalent units? 40. You need to take 40 in the denominator. Clear? Because with respect to closing stock of finished goods and goods sold, it will be 100% complete. You will take the units as it is. Whereas for WIP, it would have not been completed 100%. In that case, they would have given, if at all, if there is a WIP, chances of giving WIP is less, but still, if it is there, with respect to WIP, 100% work would have not been done. So you need to take only the percentage what is with respect to the work done. For example, I will tell you, assume the closing stock of finished goods is 1000. This is finished goods. WIP is 100. Goods sold. Goods sold is 2500. Now this two I have to take fully. Whereas with respect to WIP, assume only 60% work is done. So what should be the denominator here, guys? What should be the denominator? It should be 1000 plus 2500, 3500 plus 60 from here. 60 from here. Hope you understood. Only for WIP, you need to take equivalent units. Clear? So how much do we get? 3500 plus 60. So 3560. That we need to take it as a denominator here. To calculate supplementary rate, we need to take 3560. And this will come only if they have given WIP, guys. What I have observed is most of the time they may not give WIP. They may give only finished goods and the goods sold. Finished goods in the sense closing stock of finished goods. Hope you got it. Oh, let me explain this little detail, guys. Sir, you told debit balance, credit balance. How can you tell it, sir? How come it is having debit, credit balance and all? Simple logic. Let me explain it through this. Where are you? Here. Listen. Assume I have already observed 15 lakh rupees over it. I have already observed 15 lakh rupees over it, guys. Observed means what is the entry I would have passed, sir? Cost or cost of sales to overhead account. Correct. Absorption means the respective cost would be debited to overhead. Clear? But I got to know that I have incurred only 12 lakh. For expenses incurred, what is the entry? Overhead to cash or bank. Correct? So 12 lakh. Guys, you would have done this same thing in the accounts, but reverse. Reverse. What is it, sir? When you incur the expenses, what is the entry, guys? Particular expenses to cash or bank. Now expenses is having debit balance. At the end of the year, what do? Transfer it to P&L account. What is the entry? P&L to expenses. P&L to expenses. So expenses got closed. Correct na? But in costing, we are following reverse for overhead. First we will observe, then we will incur. Correct? Incur will happen throughout the year. But normally the entry for that will be passed when? At the end of the year. So I have totally observed already. As and when I produce each and every unit, I have observed how much totally 15 lakh. But I got to know I have incurred 12 lakh. So when I have incurred, I have debited. When I have observed, I have credited. Debit is less than credit. So overhead account is having a credit balance of how much? 3 lakh. Now tell me, is it under absorption or over absorption? I have incurred 12 but observed 15. So is it under or over absorption? Over absorption. So over absorption will have a net credit balance of how much? 3 lakh. Overhead account is having a balance, net balance of how much, guys? 3 lakh extra credit. Correct now. Now how will I cancel it? By debiting. By debiting. If it is due to abnormal reason, overhead to costing P&L. I am taking 80% as abnormal. Remaining 20%, where do I charge it, sir? To cost. Because already cost extra I have charged. Now I need to reverse it. I need to reverse it. So to reverse it, I need to credit cost and debit what? Overhead. That is overhead over absorption. Clear? Why? Because listen here. Overhead is having a net credit balance of how much? 3 lakh. Normally that would have been transferred to overhead to over absorption. Overhead to over absorption. Now over absorption is having what balance? 3 lakh. How do I close it, sir? By debiting it. By debiting it. Now what will I credit, sir? If it is due to abnormal reason, debit costing P&L account. Credit costing P&L account. Debit over absorption, but credit what? Costing P&L account. Correct. Now, why is simple, guys? On costing P&L account, anything I would have already debited. I have given excess debit. Now, how will I remove it? By giving a credit. What will be this amount? Over absorption. I have already charged more, no? I have already absorbed more. That absorption will be on which side? Debit side. How will I remove that excess absorption? By giving a credit. Clear? Same way. Sir, I have already charged more to my cost. How will I remove it? By giving a credit. If it is due to normal reason. And if there is a closing stock of finished goods, even that we will credit. Because it would have already been overvalued. Hope you understood. Hope you understood. Sir, same scenario. What if it is vice versa? I have incurred 12 lakh, but I have observed 10 lakh. Observed is less. So that means there is an under absorption of 2 lakh. It will have what balance, sir? Simple. Overhead is debited 12 lakh here, but credited 10 lakh here. So what is the net balance, guys? Net debit balance of 2 lakh. So it will have a debit balance of 2 lakh. Normally this overhead account, what debit balance is there? It would have been closed by transferring it to under absorption. So what would have been the entry? Under absorption to overhead account. Under absorption to overhead account. So now under absorption is having debit balance. How do I close it, sir? By crediting. By crediting. What account will I debit, sir? If it is due to abnormal reason, costing P&L account. If it is due to normal reason, then cost of sales, or if there is a closing stock, cost of closing stock of finished goods. Hope you understood. Clear? I try to explain the reason. Simply, instead of mugging up the journal entries and all, you should know why am I debiting something, why am I crediting something. Clear? Yes. Let me again come back to this. Let me again come back to this, guys. First, under absorption. Under absorption will have what balance? Debit balance. Because we have observed less. Still, there is something to still observe or charge. How will I charge it, sir? Depends on the reason. If it is due to abnormal reason, charge it to costing P&L account. Entries costing P&L to under absorption. If it is due to normal reason, then whatever cost is observed by goods sold or finished closing stock of finished goods is less. Now charge more. They already have debit balance, but you have charged less. Now, whatever is the short, you charge it now. 2. Under absorption. Coming back to over absorption, it already have the credit balance. Why, sir? We have charged more. Cost is already charged more. So if it is due to abnormal reason, pass this sentence. Over absorption to costing P&L account. Similar to gain, guys. Abnormal gain. Clear? Yes. This is similar to abnormal loss. This is similar to abnormal gain. Okay, sir. Then, if it is for units sold or closing stock of finished goods due to normal reason, then already I have charged more cost. Credit them. And debit what, sir? Over absorption. Hope you understood. Yes. And for this, we need to calculate something called a supplementary rate, which I showed you here. How to calculate it. The amount of under absorption or over absorption divided by total output. Okay, sir. Next, we have something called as accounting and control of administrative overhead. Till now, whatever we discussed was more about what? Factory overhead. Now coming to administrative overhead or office and administrative overhead. Any expenses incurred for office administration or for the purpose of planning, formulation, monitoring and all, we call it as administrative overhead. Okay, sir. What is the accounting treatment for it? Apportioning administration overhead between production and sales department, like how we did the primary distribution for factory overhead, same way. Then charging administrative overhead to profit and loss account straight away. No apportioning to departments and all. Straight away charge it to the profit and loss account. Or else just add it to cost of production or cost of sales. This is what we normally do in the cost sheet. Clear? Yes, sir. Then the method usually adopted for controlling the administrative overhead means in order to keep the administrative overhead as low as possible. What all measures we will take it, sir? Classify and analyze the different types of overhead expenditure incurring for each departments, which is for administration purpose. Try to see where we are incurring more and try to cut down that. Then controlling that through budget and standards means first set a target for each department of administration. What is the maximum cost you can incur? If your actual cost is more than the budgeted cost, try to figure out the reason. Why have we incurred more? And try to take the necessary action. Like how we do cost control, guys, which we learned in the first chapter. Then the next one is accounting and control of selling and distribution overhead. We already discussed about selling and distribution overhead. Selling overhead is something which is incurred for the purpose of selling the goods or to promote the goods or for marketing or advertisement of it. Then distribution overhead is incurred for the purpose of distributing the goods sold. How do we account for it? Guys, the selling and distribution overhead amount we can decide based on either the sale value of goods or cost of goods sold or gross profit. Gross profit, how do we get it? Sales minus cost of goods sold. We need to take a percentage of that or number of orders or units sold. The most suitable one is sale value of goods. Why, sir? Because the selling and distribution overhead depends on the sale of the product. Higher the sales, normally higher would be the selling and distribution overhead. Assume guys, the company will fix 20% of my sales should be my selling and distribution overhead. So whatever is your sales, 20% of that maximum can be your selling and distribution overhead. Or else if they are following this, assume they would have fixed for each unit sold, the selling and distribution overhead should be 10 rupees. Clear? So using any of this basis, you can charge selling and distribution overhead, but the most suitable one is sale value of the goods. Here also we can control the selling and distribution overheads through three ways. What are those, sir? Comparison with the past performance. That is in the last year, how much was your sales? How much selling and distribution expenses you have incurred? In the current year, how much is your sales and how much is your selling and distribution expenses? See guys, in the current year, if sales has increased, obviously selling and distribution overhead also will increase. Now assume sales actually is less than last year's sales, but selling and distribution overhead expenses is increased. We need to figure out why, for what purpose. Yeah, yes. Then we will control it through budgetary control and standard costing. That is, we will set a budget for selling and distribution. What is the maximum expenditure we have to incur? And at the end of the year, we will calculate what is the actual cost. Compare actual with the budgeted and see whether we have incurred more or less. If you have incurred less, very good. If you have incurred more, we will try to figure out the reason because there is some additional cost. When there is additional cost, the profit of the company will fall down. Then concepts related to capacity utilization. If it is installed or rated capacity means, guys, this is the maximum capacity which an organization can work with. But can anyone work at maximum capacity? May not be, sir. Why? Because there will be idle time, guys. There will be an ideal time. So this is the maximum capacity at which the company can operate. Assume guys, let me take it as 1 lakh units. Means if I work maximum capacity, I can produce 1 lakh units. Okay, sir. Then practical capacity. Practical capacity means what? Practically how much you can produce. Maximum is 1 lakh, which is not practically achievable. Tell me practically how much you can produce. Assume guys, I'm taking it as 75% of my installed capacity, which is coming to how much? 75,000. Clear? And practical capacity is more based on estimation. Practically how much can you achieve? Considering all ideal times. That is normal as well as abnormal. Okay. Then coming to normal capacity. Normal capacity means installed minus normal idle time. Minus normal idle time means normally how much can you achieve after reducing normal idle time? Because normal idle time is unavoidable, we will reduce. Then actual capacity is what, sir? Guys, installed capacity minus normal idle time is normal capacity. Minus abnormal idle time will give you actual capacity. Clear? This and this is almost same, but this is based on actually what happened. This is based on estimation. Means practically how much can we achieve. Clear? So actual capacity is actually what we have produced. So ideal capacity is something which I was supposed to use, but I have not used it. And that can be due to normal capacity or ideal. Normal is unavoidable, whereas abnormal I would have avoided, but still happened because of my ignorance. Yes, listen here. So from uninstalled capacity, if I reduce normal ideal capacity, what do I get, guys? Normal capacity. Then if I reduce abnormal ideal capacity from normal capacity, what do I get? Actual capacity. Actual capacity. Clear? And practical is like they would have estimated both normal as well as abnormal and they would have told on an average how much you can achieve. That is like 75% of the installed capacity. Clear? So I can tell almost this both are same, but this normally will be based on estimation, whereas this is actually what is the capacity utilized. Actually, after considering both normal as well as abnormal, what is the capacity you have achieved? Okay, sir. Now coming to treatment of idle capacity cost. Idle capacity means, sir, I would have used it, but not used. Even for that capacity, I would have incurred a cost. Yes. How do I treat it? If it is due to unavoidable reasons, that is normal, then the supplementary overhead rate may be charged to the production capacity utilized. Means it will be a part of my production cost, guys. Accordingly, the cost per unit will go up. Will go up. If it is due to avoidable reasons, that is abnormal, Then cost should be charged to costing, profit and loss account. Whatever is the cost of the idle capacity, we need to charge it to costing P&L account separately. And if it is due to seasonal factors means, sir, I will operate only for 9 months in a year or 10 months in a year. Whereas another 1 or 2 months or 3 months, I will remain idle, sir. In that case, whatever cost we have incurred for idle capacity should be charged to what? Cost of production. Means during the season, whatever units you produce, their cost will go up by inflating the overhead rates, guys. Got it? Yes. So this is all about chapter 4, guys.